Hi, welcome. So, I embarked on a soul journey recently, and it's been, I would say, a bumpy ride to be on the soul journey. And I'll share why. The reason my soul journey has been so bumpy is because I forgot my soul. Let me explain this a little bit. So, in this context, when I use the word soul, I'm talking about our spirit, our individuated being. Um, Really, somebody calls it, and some people call it a higher self. Um, it's really the magical part of us that um, incarnates. And um, so, this is the part of us that, depending on our circumstances, we are either more or less in touch with this part of us, with our souls, let's say. And oftentimes, what is holding the place of our soul is a part of our ego. Our ego is really holding the place for our soul, and actually not just holding it, taking over the space for our soul. So also this could be, for example, our inner child. So I would say pretty much the way that development goes is that by the time, when we're children, when we're really young, like 2-4 years old, we're really in our spirit. We don't have much of an ego developed. We are functioning from our spirit. And as time goes on, we go in and out of connection with our spirit. And then by the time we reach around, this is not a set in stone thing, but for pretty much most of us, by the time that we reach around 7 to 9 years of age, we lose contact. We start to, we don't lose contact fully, but we start to gel more and more into our ego, and our identity actually transforms more into our ego rather than a spirit. And so oftentimes when we try to connect with our soul, so we will come across something called an inner child. And an inner child isn't a real child. It is the part of us that was really young and took on the responsibility, as we lost connection with our soul. It took on the responsibility of holding the place for it. And not just holding the space for it, taking it over, really, is what happens. So, we have, depending on who we are, our personalities. Some of us are more ruled by the inner child, the tantruming one that is potentially holding the space. And then also, depending on our wounds, our hurts, sometimes we end up kind of in a battle between our egos, between this. I'll back up a little bit. The battle is our egos, but our egos are also sometimes part of what happens is that we live on this planet, and part of being on this in this realm is that it's painful, and we lose connection with our spirit. That's the reality of it. As I mentioned, most of us, by the time that we're 7 to 9 years of age, we've crystallized more into our egos, and we lose connection, our identity with our spirit. And then over time, because this is a program, it just tends to increase with time. So who we were when we were 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 versus when we are 40 or 50 or 60 or 90, we can start to see over time that our egos can become much stronger. So you might notice that with people. So I was backing up. So there's a few things. So when we're in this realm and we are around other people who have also been wounded, they have also lost connection with their spirit. And as a result of that, what happens is that the wounded parts of them, either through some kind of mechanism, whether it could be rejection or anger, attacking, ignoring, the wounded parts, not their souls, not their hearts, for the most part, the wounded parts of the people who love us, they end up as I mentioned, rejecting, attacking, ignoring something towards a soul, which then becomes internalized. And so even though I may be sitting here in this room by myself, and the person whose wounded part attacked my soul, they're not here to attack my soul. I have internalized their voices, their attitude. I've internalized. I have now created an ego identity, an entity that also is not aligned with my soul. So even if we get support for our egos, it is impossible it's nearly impossible to be in this planet, anywhere on this planet, and have our connection to our soul be unperturbed, really. So I'm sharing this because oftentimes I'm sharing that I embarked on a journey that with the intention that I am listening, I am following, I am connecting. This is my intention. And yet, it is so hard to forget. It is so hard to forget. And to really live from that place, it is hard. And most of us, whether it's consciously, and I think it's less likely for it to be conscious, and mostly unconsciously, cover this up. Cover up that we are not living, that we are not connected, with our soul, with our spirit, that we're actually living something else. We are living the internalized attacks, the internalized rejection, the internalized ignoring, we're living more from our ego, from our inner child that is pretending to be our soul, pretending to be a spirit, which is an incredible burden on that part of us that's still holding the space and taking it over. It's not equipped to be our soul. It's not equipped. It's not our soul, so it's not equipped. So the reason that I decided to make a video about this is because we cover this up, this truth up, even from ourselves. And we don't want to open up to seeing it. And the reason is because we feel a lot of shame. Or more accurately, I would say, we experienced a lot at the time that we were losing connection with our spirit. We had a lot of feelings. We had shame. We had feelings of humiliation, devastation, despair. There's a whole range of experience, of feelings that we had as we were losing our connection with our spirit, as we were becoming more and more and more our ego. And it's really difficult to then have that loss and then cover it up with an ego that is deficient. But what's the alternative? Is the alternative to actually feel that level of shame and humiliation and despair and hurt, wounds. Yeah. So I just coming back to this realization that I just had. I'm on a journey. It's a soul journey. I have left my soul behind somewhere. I have forgotten. I'm not conscious. I'm not even necessarily orienting. I'm in kind of a hole. No soul. And I just, it's a beautiful thing to realize. Oh my gosh, I'm in the hole of no soul. Even acknowledging it. If you acknowledge that, even in this moment, just notice what happens. Notice if the truth of that lands you in the present moment. Because so much when we avoid this truth, when we avoid it, we are not here. Because we need to do something to avoid. We can't be present and avoid at the same time. So if you just notice, does that make you more aware of your body? Sitting or standing or doing whatever you're doing in this moment. Does it take you out of whatever dream or something, whatever you were caught in, and bring you here? That's a big, 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 huge step. Next, I want to, just acknowledge how can that really this part of us, our soul, is really the center of the mandala. It's the center of our mandala. Literally, the world, my world, revolves around my soul. When I am in the center of my mandala, when I am not trying to center another person, another circumstance, another experience, and when I'm not trying to center all of those in the center of the mandala, where I am just kind of lost, gone. So when I don't do that, and when I really say, oh my gosh, my soul is the center of my mandala. When not my ego, not my inner child, not that kind, right? But my soul is the center of my mandala. From there, I can do so much. I have something to give, something to offer. I have the fullness of myself here. It's like my cup will get filled. My cup gets filled when I take my position. My soul takes her position in the center of the mandala. Now I have access to resources, to it's like I've made the right again. I imagine that, part of what I'm saying is going to be very triggering. And I just want to clarify, this is not about the ego. This is the soul. And I really want to invite you to check in to see how this feels in your body, in your heart. Does this resonate? Do you remember when you were the center of the mandala? When you were the 2-year-old who was the center of the universe? Because that 2-year-old was spirit. And that it's not we still have our adult parts. Even if my soul is the center of my mandala, I still have my adult parts that are guiding me in making decisions. It's not about being selfish. I think this is huge. This is really huge. We are so scared to be in the center of our mandala because we think, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to be narcissist. And yes, this is the ultimate narcissism. Your world. This is the ultimate narcissism in the right way. Because I have to think about this. What makes it the right way? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to explain it right now. So let me just check in. at least this is my experience, is, and I really want to invite you to recall your own experience. I used to do a lot of, not a lot, but I used to do some seva, some selfless service. And I remember being in the field of doing this selfless service. And I was really actually incredibly amazed at how it was going. When I looked from the outside, it looked like chaos. There was movement, there was people, everybody was moving in a certain way. They were just moving, and from the outside, I didn't know what was happening. I was just watching this happen. When I was actually doing this selfless service, I remember I was doing the selfless service. I was in myself. I was focused on the giving, and the reason why it was like everything worked in the midst of this chaos, what looked like chaos, is because everybody was moving from their focus, from their center. We weren't like rubbing up against each other. We weren't in our egos. We were not in our egos. We were not engaged with each other that way, because if we were to do it, oh my gosh, it would have been chaos. It would have been, you rubbed me the wrong way. You did this the wrong way. It didn't work like that. It was like everybody was in their center and moved from that place. And it was an incredible tapestry that was being created beautifully, that worked so perfectly. Almost like if you were to think each cell in your body is the center of the mandala, and that each cell knows what to do. It's not like they're fighting with each other. The cells in our bodies, when our body is in a healthy kind of capacity, the cells are not fighting with each other. They're not overproducing, they're not underproducing. They're actually all in resonance. And I heard there's like 50,000 processes happening in a cell at any given time. So they really have to move from their rightness. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful. And if you have found yourself moving out, as we all do almost all the time, moving out from your soul, see if you can just acknowledge that truth, and if that helps you to land. And then next step is potentially just orienting yourself about living from the center of the mandala of your soul, of your spirit. All right, let me know how this is for you. I think there's a lot of background noises here, but I hope that this was helpful. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Take care.